Hey everyone, excited to be here and talk about stablecoins and jump off from that last panel conversation. So I'm Matt Homer, the general partner of the venture department, early stage VC fund. We've done a lot in the stablecoin space, and I'm excited for this conversation focused on our stablecoins winner take all. And so we're going to have a fun conversation here. Let me just introduce my panelists here. So we got Johann from Robinhood. He oversees crypto there as an SVP and GM. And Eric, who is the head of all things on-chain at Gemini. And I think Gemini even had some Solana-related announcements this week, which is exciting. But all right, well, let's just dig in. Stablecoins have been maybe the dominant narrative in crypto for the last year. I mean, where I sit at early stage investing, it's definitely kind of the area that I think is captivating early stage founders the most. It's becoming a vibrant, diverse ecosystem with like all sorts of components, including issuance. And what do you guys think? Are stablecoins winner take all? Why or why not? Why don't we start with you, Johann?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing with stable is it's a perfect example of the first tokenized real-world asset. And I think it really shows the power of tokenization and blockchain technology when it's applied to things that we are used to, like cash. I think, though, the complexity is the number of currency in the world and how everything is going to connect. How do you go from cash to currency? And so I don't particularly think it's a winner-take-all. I think you will see many stable and some specialize in specific domain. Like, for example, if you want to send to Singapore and you want to get back from stable to Singaporean dollar, you will use a specific one, and etc. But on our platform, we want to be, powering as many stable as possible, obviously, and we are pretty excited to see how people use it.
Yeah, Eric, what do you think? Winner take all? Yes or no?
Yeah, I don't think stablecoins is a winner-take-all market. There's currently already 2 players that are dominant, so definitely more room for expansion. We've seen acquisitions like Bridge with Stripe. I think Stripe's going to onboard tons of businesses that never would have thought of stablecoins before that. We're going to see more banks get into stablecoins and more use cases like Polymarket is one of the most dominant crypto companies out there, and if they switch to a different stablecoin, it would get adoption. So stablecoins are just a more dominant rail. They're programmable, they're interoperable, fast, instant settlement. They're just the best type of payment that you could have, and we're going to see more players want to get into that space. And more issuers that have different incentives, like Global Dollar aligns incentives with issuers, Agora aligns incentives with networks. We're going to see just more players get in and give them more opportunities.
Yeah. You guys are, both your organizations are obviously active in the space and see a number of different use cases. Just looking forward, I don't know, like a few years out, what do you think the stablecoin landscape looks like in terms of, if it's not winner take all, what type of use cases, what type of stablecoins do we see? Are they all sort of general purpose stablecoins that compete with each other? Are there, I think you sort of talked about this a little bit, Johann, or do you see different types of stablecoins focused on different use cases? Like paint a picture of what you think the future might look like there.
Yeah, I think you will actually just not see it. I think you will see a lot more of the platform using it in the background without you necessarily realizing that there is a stable coin in the middle. Like you see a lot of application already. Like if you look at the App Store, you take the top 10, you already see a lot of these applications that are using stable to fund the account of the customer, especially during weekend, especially during night, where you cannot do an ACH or you have to take a lot of risk as a company. And that's what we do as well on our side. Like on the institution side, we do use stablecoin to settle with market maker on a daily basis, and it's really important because when the banks are asleep, crypto still is live, and people still trade and things like this. For us, we're also participant of the global dollar network. It's a stablecoin issued by Paxos, USDG. And so for us, like the interesting part of this stablecoin in particular is that there is a share of the revenue with all the participants. And so we think that thanks to that, you will be able to actually build and develop more infrastructure around it.
Eric?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of people have thought that the use cases for stablecoins were mainly around settling crypto transactions. And we're just seeing a lot of growth in payments for remittances, treasury management. Circle's acquisition of Hashnote sees that there's a huge opportunity for corporations to want to manage their cash. Bridge doing the Starlink, getting capital back from all these different countries that they're selling, the terminals to. And just DeFi and all the things that are going on there. So I think we're just scratching the surface of the use cases, and more. There's a very large demand for on-chain dollars around the world. People who would rather hold USD than their normal currency since it's deflating, and now with Visa and MasterCard getting into the game to settle debit card transactions, we're just going to see more use cases around the world where people will want to get sent USD on-chain dollars and then spend at the point of sale.
Yeah. As we think about the future market structure for stablecoins, one of the biggest developments just this week is it looks like it's even more likely that we'll see federal legislation around stablecoins, right? Really setting a national standard for what it means to be a stablecoin. How do you think that impacts the industry to have kind of a national standard like that?
Yeah, I have a really strong take here that I think the U.S. needs to be extremely proactive in not allowing global regulation to prevent on-chain dollars from, competing freely. In MiCA license, they put a cap on how much USD can be used as stablecoin, and so I think it's going to be very impactful. It's going to put a cap on how useful stablecoins could be, specifically on-chain dollars. And I think our administration needs to be proactive here and help unblock those regulations that will stifle the US dollar stablecoins.
Yeah, I think it's also going to open the door, right? A lot of institutions, a lot of bank and other platform do not want to use stable at this point because they don't know how it's regulated, they don't know exactly what's behind it, and so I think the bill is going to open the doors for all these institutions to actually start to use it. The second aspect is also going to define a bit more like how does the US work, how are we going to interact with stablecoins that are issued elsewhere like Singapore or Europe, and so there is still, I think, some work there to do, and there is also the problem around distributing the yield to customer, which seems to be not part of the bill. So I think there are still going to be a decent amount of discussion after this bill.
Yeah. So US dollar-backed stablecoins are by far like the dominant stablecoin, right? The market so far has shown a very strong preference toward US dollar stablecoins. I'm curious for your thoughts on whether is there a role for local stablecoins? I sort of wonder, at some point, are central banks in some of these countries going to get a little bit concerned, right? If their citizens are holding like a lot of dollar-backed stablecoins, maybe there's nothing they can do about it. I'm not sure, but like, how do you think about non-US dollar fiat stablecoins?
Yeah, we actually do support already on Robinhood in Europe, for example, Euro stablecoin. It was something that was requested by our customers. They want to be able to actually use it. There is also the interesting play around like FX, but through stablecoin. And you start to see like more and more countries looking into it, like Singapore, Hong Kong, like a few of them already are announcing plans or they are about to launch it. And I think that's good, like I think, ideally, we want what's happening for the USD with stablecoin to happen for any currency so that we are able to move it more freely and faster.
Yeah, I think a lot of countries and companies will try to make alternative fiat stablecoins a thing, but I don't think it will ever be a thing. People want US dollar. America is the greatest country in the world, and the best fiat currency will win in this market as long as we make sure regulation doesn't cap it. So there will be attempts. I just don't think it will ever matter. And as just like Bitcoin's going to win, the US dollar is going to win in stablecoins.
Yeah. Another thing I think, the market, at least from what I hear, I think some people in the market want with stablecoin payments is some degree of privacy, right? Like if you're a corporate or even just a person, you start transitioning kind of the normal payments you do to stablecoin payments, paying a vendor in another country, an affiliate, or whatever. I know some people have said, look, we're never going to do that until we have some certainty around some degree of privacy in those transactions. Do you think we need greater privacy in stablecoin payments for stablecoins to scale? Like, how do you think about kind of the privacy side of stablecoin payments?
Yeah, I think the transparency around stablecoin was also by design to be able to get the regulator comfortable with. There is the technology solution here, like you can use zero-knowledge proof, you can use other system to hide the provenance and the destination. All of this, I think, just need to be incorporated with the different regulators, the administration of the different countries, and it shouldn't be a hard problem to solve for us. But I do think at some point that if we want scale adoption of stable, there will be a need to at least hide some element of the transaction, like maybe the amount or things like this, because otherwise you do display a lot of your information to your competition.
Yeah.
I'm very conflicted by this question because privacy is so important from my perspective. I don't think many people will care, unfortunately. Venmo, had it public by default, and people use Venmo. Yeah. So I think it won't stop adoption per se, but it should be really important. We should be able to have privacy if we want. We should be able to use Tornado Cash or something like that to get your transactions private. We should invest in more privacy technology. You should be able to use mixers in Bitcoin. Ultimately, I don't think it will stop adoption, but it's something that as people in the industry, we should be working towards and not penalizing customers at the exchange level or wallet level, and not blocking anyone for using privacy. Privacy is a fundamental human right, and we need to take that seriously.
Yeah. All right. One final question, which is, like, what are you excited about the most in stablecoins? Like for me, for example, I think like non-custodial neobanking is a really cool idea. Like with stablecoins, tokenized T-bills, you could now have like a Mercury or kind of a neobank experience, right, without any sort of intermediary or traditional bank as part of it. But I don't know, what do you guys, is there something in particular about stablecoins that really captivates you or gets you excited, not just for your companies, but maybe even sort of as individuals who are, been in this space and excited about innovation?
Yeah, for me, in a nutshell, it would be that it's this window into the traditional system in the future when it's on blockchain technology, on this new backbone that crypto is. And I think every advantage that we see on stable, we are going to see it on other assets pretty soon.
Yeah.
I've been a payments guy for a long time, so I'm really excited about settling transactions with the payment networks like Visa and MasterCard for an on-chain card. I think that's going to be a huge benefit to people around the world who want US dollars, they want to hold it, and then they can spend it at the point of sale using Apple Pay, with typical rails that they already have. So, yeah, payments.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation on stablecoins.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.